Hello everyone, this afternoon on the marketplace, National Development Bank secures provisional license from the Bank of Ghana to begin operations. We'll tell you what we know. Also ahead, the rate of inflation between locally produced items and imported ones widens as a result of the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. And Ghana Hotels Association kicks against demands from Ghana Music Rights Organization to pay royalties. We'll hear from the president of the Hotels Association on this edition of The Marketplace. My name is Darryl Kwao. Details coming up.
Hi, this is Lexus Bill, host of Drive Time on Joy 99.7 FM. Listen, you don't have to worry if you miss Drive Time or Personality Profile. It's going to be live on our podcast page. Just log on to www.myjoyonline.com/podcast. You can listen to Drive Time, Personality Profile, and any other of your favorite shows on Joy FM on that page. You don't have to miss a show at all. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
First up this afternoon, the National Development Bank has secured provisional license from the Bank of Ghana to begin operations. This will, however, be subject to meeting some conditions before it can start full operations next month. George Rafe has the latest.
Joy Business is learning that a formal communication was made last week to the Ministry of Finance by the Bank of Ghana in a letter. This should mean that the bank now has the legal backing to kickstart the process to aid its full operations. However, this is subject to meeting some conditions before. In the said letter, the Bank of Ghana also doesn't want to restrict the approval to the board members and the chief executive, but other key management positions of the bank. There's also talk about the structure and the level of minimum capital requirement that should be imposed by the Bank of Ghana on the institution. Now, failure to meet some of these conditions could see the National Development Bank miss out on starting operations as expected. The Minister of Finance, Keno Friata, recently told Joy Business that government is waiting for the Bank of Ghana's approval so the institution can take off quickly as expected. We also understand that the offices of the National Development Bank has already been secured at a prime location here in Accra. It is the belief of government that the bank taking off on time will aid in the recovery of the economy. The Finance Minister has also revealed that they will be using this bank to support long-term funding to some critical areas of the economy. However, it is not everyone that is enthused about this bank, with some of these persons worried about undue political interference and going the way of institutions like the Bank for Housing and Construction, which has collapsed.
Meanwhile, economist Professor Peter Quartey says the survival of the yet-to-be-launched National Development Bank hinges on the avoidance of political interference. Government has already promised an institution that will be run without political interference, but Professor Quartey wants government to walk the talk.
At the moment, we don't have long-term financing. It is only the National Development Bank that can provide that kind of funding that we require. Most of the commercial banks are universal banks, and then they are profit-oriented. They will not lend beyond 3 years. National Development Bank can lend 3, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And that's what is going to bring economic transformation. The only challenge I foresee is that if there's a lot of political interference, the other challenge I foresee is that if we appoint people who are not competent to man the National Development Bank. Otherwise, if you run it like a business, profit-oriented, with clear goals and mandates, I believe National Development Bank will help transform this country. But we are not tax compliant. We've also made tax payment a bit difficult in my view. These days we are giving digitization, so it's much easier if you can go online and pay. How many people are literate enough who can go online and pay taxes? I think we should find a more innovative ways of collecting taxes. The online digitization is good, but I believe there are more people within the informal sector who cannot use the digital means, and therefore the GRA should find ways of reaching out to the untaxed so that our tax GDP ratio will move from the 12% to 25%. That is what we need. If you want to invest and grow your revenue, GDP ratio should be within the range of about 25%.
Professor Peter Quartey there speaking on the National Development Bank and other issues to do with taxing. Now, the rate of inflation between locally produced items and imported ones has widened as a result of the impact of COVID-19. This rate, as observed by the Ghana Statistical Service, indicates that locally produced items since the outbreak have witnessed a significant increase in prices as against imported items. In August this year, inflation of locally produced items stood at 10.3% as against 9.4% in July. Here's Government Statistician Professor Samuel Kobneni.
The prices point of view, and again, not just the absolute prices, but the changes in the prices point of view. So on the slide that we show the trend from August 2019 to August 2021, we clearly see that the parity that we recorded in the month of May, we lost it to a very large extent last month, that is July 2021, where we saw a relatively higher gap between locally produced items and imported items, with that difference standing at 0.9. But this difference has further been widened in the month of August 2021, where we see a 2.2% difference between locally produced items and imported items. It is important you look at this that is why we do a trend analysis, to see what happened the same period, August 2019, the same period, August 2020, and see whether there is some seasonal effect occurring there. If you look at what happened in August 2019, that is at the outset of the rebasing of CPI, we see the dominance of imported items over locally produced items, specifically with imported items standing at 8.9 and locally produced items standing at 7.8. The story was different in the month of August 2020, where we saw the dominance of locally produced items, specifically at 12.6 and 4.8. But any conversation in the year 2020 should be had with COVID in mind. That probably led to that huge gap between locally produced items and imported items. So if one wants to make any deductions, there is that, as I said, catch up or return to where around this time of the year we see imported items from a price point of view having a relatively higher inflation relative to locally produced items.
All right, you heard the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobneni. We want to turn attention to some other story of following for you today. The Ghana Hotels Association has kicked against payment of royalties to the Ghana Music Rights Organization. Now, according to its president, Dr. Edward Akanyameke Jr., it is yet to reach any agreement with GAMRO, the collection agency, over the royalties. Hence, it finds it troubling the demands. Now, GAMRO has since Tuesday been demanding the royalties from the hotels, attributing it to Copyright Act 2005, which states that any person or institution that uses or performs music in public should pay royalties. In a moment, we'll speak with President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Akanyameke Jr. But I just want to show you a copy of a letter to the Accra City Hotel, where the GAMRO has been demanding the payment of royalties. It says, we write to draw your attention to the Copyright Act 2005 and Rule 36 of the regulations, which mandatorily requires that any person who wishes to use or perform music in public by means of radio, television, live performance, etc. of any copyright protected will have to apply for a license to do so. It goes on to say that in order to regularize your use of copyright music in accordance with the law, due to the good existing relationship between our organizations, if you intend to continue the use of music in public as part of your operations, kindly complete and return the attached form with the fees for processing of the license. We also urge you to take immediate steps to settle any outstanding, if any, before the 28th of February 2021 in view of the notification. Joining us, President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Akanyameke Jr. So let's begin with the law and what it says. Based on what we have said so far, it is a requirement that you pay royalties on music used.
Very much so. And as law-abiding citizens, we have been doing that, except that GAMRO has not made it easy for us to comply with the law.
How is that?
Let me give you a very brief background. You remember that the copyright arrangement itself used to be under Copyright Society of Ghana until 2011, when the new act established the collective societies with Ghana Music Rights Organization and Audiovisual Rights Society of Ghana to collect royalties on behalf of their members. Now, I have documents here to indicate that the transition from the Copyright Society of Ghana to the two collective societies itself created some issues with regards to their own internal administrative matters. So they could not really sit with the association and negotiate royalties until somewhere in 2014, when that was done. We came to some arrangement and the hotels were compliant. And then somewhere in 2017, 2018, they started this new formula of calculating royalties based on number of rooms in the hotels. And that meant that the hotels were going to pay very huge royalties, as the Accra City document will tell you. We met them, we disagreed on the new formula, we petitioned the Parliamentary Select Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism, we petitioned the then minister, we wrote to the copyright administrator, which by the act is supposed to deal with such disagreements between the collective societies and then users of those products. Now, we've done all this, and then the Parliamentary Select Committee directed us to the Ghana Tourism Authority to mediate the matter. And in February 2020, that committee, the joint committee between Ghana Music Rights Organization, Ghana Hotels Association, and Ghana Tourism Authority, came out with a communique agreeing on the fact that, yes, okay, we'll sit down and work out these royalties. In the meantime, go and pay the old ones, whilst we form a technical committee to deal with it. Then COVID came in, and that sort of scattered the whole work. So we've been looking forward for this technical committee, together with the guidance from the copyright administrator, to come out with royalties that is acceptable to both parties. That did not happen. Only for me to start receiving calls yesterday from some of my members that they had received a letter from a legal firm called Poku Edusei and Associates, demanding for royalties based on the formula, the new formula that Gamro has unilaterally come out with. And that is unacceptable. That's the basis of the issue that we have now.
It's not the case. It's not the case that the Ghana Hotels Association is against payment of the royalties. You're against the formula, and so just wanted to find out: are there opportunities to engage with Gamro?
Together, for us to sit down and come out with royalties that is acceptable to all.
Apologies, there's a bit of a delay. Hopefully, Dr. Nyameke can hear the question I asked him. Okay, while we try to re-establish a connection with Dr. Edward Akanyameke Jr., this is the latest unfolding that the Ghana Music Rights Organization is demanding royalties from the Ghana Hotels Association for music used, and that's demand according to the law. Now, the issue is the Ghana Hotels Association is not excited about the formula being used. You heard Dr. Edward Akanyameke Jr. talk about the fact that Gamro wanted to bill it based on the occupants in every room in the hotel. I'm told that you are back and you can hear me. So I just wanted to find out, so you are not against payment, you just are not happy about the formula. So isn't there an opportunity to engage and stop this from escalating?
Darrell, we've been looking for this opportunity. We've always been looking for this opportunity, which is why we petition the authorities. We are looking for that opportunity. But you see, I get the impression that Gamro wants to stick to the formula that they have decided to use, and nothing we say taking our own issue into consideration makes quote-unquote sense to them. So for me, I think the authorities need to intervene in this matter, because any discussion between the two parties alone for me will not work. It started way back in 2011. That same issue has been raging till now. So what stops the authorities? The copyright administrator, the ministry, the Ghana Tourism Authority, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism. What stops them from dealing with this matter? You know, I have a letter here which came from the Registrar General Department in May 2012, calling for that sort of a discussion for the issue to be resolved. We are still faced with the same thing. How many years down there? 9 years down the line. So every time Gamro or ASOG are out there, they issue letters based on figures. So does it mean that they have the right to sit in their office and decide on figures and then throw it to associations and expect us to pay? No, it doesn't work like that. And that is the issue we have with them. So let the right authorities intervene in the matter. And DTA tried it. We were going to work on it. Then the COVID came, and for some reason, it's been left cold.
And I guess your next step will be to speak with authorities that can really help mediate in this matter. Thanks so much, indeed, Dr. Edward Akanyamike Jr. for joining us to tell us what it really is. And I can understand the Ghana Hotels Association, they've had to deal with a lot because of the pandemic. Let's see how this plays out. Now, just a bit of a programming note. Land acquisition in Ghana can be very frustrating. It's not smooth and easy at all. There are challenges, including inadequate land policy, insecurity of land tenure, indiscipline in the land market, leading to fraud, conflicts, frustrations, and anxiety. So what are we not getting right? Well, tonight on Joy Business Social, I will be engaging the Deputy Chief Land Administration Officer at the Lands Commission, Timothy Anyedohu. This is in the lead up to this year's EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair, which kickstarts with a mini clinic at the Chimota Mall this weekend. The conversation will be across all our social media platforms tonight at 6. Do make a date and send your questions as well. So land acquisition in Ghana, challenges and the way forward on Joy Business Social tonight. Don't miss it. You're watching The Marketplace. We are going to be taking a short break very soon. When we come back, we'll be talking to you about the Northern Poultry Farmers Association lamenting over the astronomical increase in feed costs in the poultry industry.
Hello, I'm Dori Nando. You can catch up with all the fun on the Cosmopolitan Mix and on all our shows via podcast. Just go to My Joy Online podcast and search for your favorite show and relive those moments all over again. Only on Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Welcome back. We begin this next part from the northern region where poultry farmers are lamenting the astronomical increase in feed costs in the poultry industry. Addressing a press conference in Tamale, the Northern Regional Chairman of the association, George Dasa, said within a year the cost of maize, the main ingredient of the feed, has risen from 130 cedis per 100 kilogram to between 320 cedis and 350 cedis. There's more in this report.
Continue to raise concerns over cost of feeding the birds they say is affecting the industry. It is against this backdrop that the Northern Region branch of the Poultry Farmers Association held a press conference to drum home their demands. Addressing the news conference, the Northern Regional Chairman of the group, George Dasa, said some of his members are folding up whilst others are selling their birds to buy feed to feed the rest. He wondered why Ghana's neighbors were allowed to come in and buy a lot of maize when the poultry industry needed the maize.
Within a space of about 12 months, the cost of the main ingredient of the feed component, that is maize, has risen from 130 Ghana cedis per 100 kg to between 320 to 350 or even more per 100 kg, depending on where you are getting it. Members of the press, is it not curious that through the flagship program, Planting for Food and Jobs, cost of inputs are subsidized using the Ghanaian taxpayers' money. The program became successful because maize farmers had more yield than before. Yet, poultry farmers who consume more than half of the total maize produced in the country are finding it difficult to get the maize to feed our birds. Even when you get it, the price is so high that one wonders if there was no subsidy at all, the maize price in this country would have been a no-go area. That the planting for food and jobs was successful. Maize farmers had increased yield, yet poultry farmers find it difficult to get the commodity. That occasioned the issuing of a permit by government through the Ministry of Agri to import 60,000 metric tons of yellow maize.
He called on egg sellers and consumers to reason with them as they consider increasing the prices of eggs between 18 and 24 cedis.
And so we want to appeal to the consumers, final consumers, that if the egg seller comes to the farm gate to buy at these prices, definitely he has to also add something. So we want to appeal to our egg sellers that please, for us to continue to be in business, we want the large size to be sold or to be bought from us at 24 cedis. I'm sure, as I mentioned, they are memory in their minds. We want the medium size to be 22 cedis, the small size 20 cedis, the pullets, that is those that have just started laying, 18 cedis, and unsorted, that is if you have not sorted them, at 22 cedis. With the above prices, we can all continue to be in business so that we can provide our fellow Ghanaians with the quality of protein that they need.
Mr. Dasa called on the president to get his Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Usefria Koto, to step down and allow a replacement who has the interests of the industry at heart.
Our third issue has to do with the managers of the agri sector, especially the Honorable Minister of Agri, Dr. Usefria Koto. In fact, we all of the poultry fraternity are not enthused at all with regards to his utterances and actions in recent past. In fact, one does not need rocket science to know that our Honorable Minister does not have the poultry sector at heart at all. This was manifested on the floor of Parliament when the Honorable Minister he was answering questions on the floor of Parliament pertaining to the poultry sector. A case in point is when he was asked by the Honorable MP for Wa East, Dr. Godfred Seydou Jasso, as to how the ministry is considering negotiating with financial institutions to at least give some grace period for payments for farmers who went in for loans, so that they can readjust in the face of COVID and the high cost of inputs. The answer given by the minister was, I quote, "Mr. Speaker, in short, no, thank you."
And that was Martina Bugui reporting there on the situation with poultry farmers. They're complaining about the high cost of feed. Let's bring you some money tips now on Money Lab.
Hello there and welcome to the Money Lab. Today we would consider simple interest and compound interest. What is interest? Interest is the cost of borrowing money, where the borrower pays a fee to the lender for the loan. The interest, typically expressed as a percentage, can be either simple or compounded. Simple interest is based on the principal amount of a loan or deposit. In contrast, compound interest is based on the principal amount and the interest that accumulated. Simple interest is calculated only on the principal amount of a loan or deposit, so it is easier to determine and compute than compound interest. Also, as a lender or investor, You can also benefit from simple interest or compound interest based on the agreement you have with the borrower or the type of investment you have. For instance, owners of units in Republic Unit Trusts benefit from compound interest of both their principal and accrued interest.
And there's more news on myjoyonline.com/business. Head over there for the day's latest. We have 2021 US Ghana Business Forum. Government calls for strategic partnership to develop COVID-19 economic transformation. myjoyonline.com. And don't forget to make a date on Joy Business Social at 6 p.m. as we look into land acquisition in Ghana, challenges and the way forward. Yours truly, the handsome guy at the top right corner, Darryl Kwa, hosting that for you. Be sure to tune in. And that's the marketplace. Thanks for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow.